Will you please welcome Phil Hopkins?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well, that was an unexpected threesome I've just had there. There weren't enough of us to go round. Hello. Hello. Now, having played Widow Twankey in the Alhambra pantomime, I would have had a far better response from the children. Hello. Hello. There we go. Oh, no, it isn't. Oh, yes, there's always one in the audience. Nice to see you all. I remember a speaker once saying, what are you going to speak about? And I said, sometimes I'm never quite sure till I get there. And I've been scribbling notes across the day because I think if you pre-write something, you often end up a bit prescriptive. And I wrote down, Sue just said something and she said, we've got one life. How true, one life. I was a journalist on the Yorkshire Evening Post, then I went into radio, then I went into TV. So I learned about print, then about sound, and then about pictures, about the need to listen, to communicate effectively. And when I was at the Yorkshire Evening Post, I left in 1986. I was the last person on a manual typewriter. And it was, I still do 100 words a minute Pitman shorthand. And I got a phone call some weeks ago from John McDonough, who I was at journalism school with. He said, Phil, he was a Lancashire lad, he says, Phil, he says, the world has ended. I says, what's happened? He said, they've scrapped the mandatory 100 words a minute requirement from the NCTJ Prof test, the National Council for the Training of Journalists, and they've just removed that as a requirement. So I've grown up in a changing world. I'm 57, we've got that out the way. And I've had to transition from a manual life, if you like, to the digital world. And I took a decision 5 years ago that I either adopted the attitude, oh, I'm too old to be learning all this stuff, or did I get with the program? And probably one of the first things was when my business partner came in. And I was listening to what Emily said about Zero. Because he came into me and he said, Phil, he says, I've met a girl on a dating site from York. She's a classical flautist and she's from New Mexico and I'm marrying her. So we've either got to pull the business apart in 6 weeks or do we take it to the cloud? And in about 6 to 8 weeks, we did 2 years' work and we put it in the cloud. So I'm completely sold, Emily, wherever you are on Zero, because I've been on it about 5 or 6 years. Then I decided to go on FilipinoCupid.com to see if I could find a woman. And I flew to Manila 4 years ago, and I'm still in a relationship with a woman 4 years on. She's been here many times. I learned all about WhatsApp, an internet messenger, and how to do FaceTime. That was a revelation. And as a result of going out and seeing her, I saw these opportunities. This whole digital world opened up. So much so that I ended up working for the Filipino government in Manila, which is a long story, perhaps for another day. So these pieces of software came into my life. And then I thought, do you know what? Going to an office is pretty boring. What would my perfect office look like? And I thought, it's actually Wetherspoons at 8 a.m. where you get unlimited coffee and toast for £1.99. So most days of the week, you can either see me starting my day in Wetherspoons at Yeadon, Morrison's, where the Wi-Fi is not that good because it's got too many restrictions on, or the Hawthorne Farm near Leeds Bradford Airport, where Julie always gives me a very good service because I'm a regular. And the fundamental turning point was when I looked in the mirror one morning and I said, it's only money. And the day before, I lost £250,000 cash in a deal. And I thought, this is a defining moment. And I thought what Sue said, you've only got one life. And I thought, what do I really want to do? And I'd been working with a colleague of mine called Richard Trinder, and we started to develop YorkshireTimes.co.uk. And I'll be leaving some business cards with Sue, and with Sandy rather. I apologise because I will have to go a little earlier, but I will leave some business cards. And I said, why don't I come and set up the theatre pages because I think it's very poor quality. So I started doing that. I think in the last 5 years now, I've probably reviewed about 50 to 60 professional shows a year because theatre was one of my principal passions. I was a dancing cardinal in the last Monty Python film, The Meaning of Life, and you can see me on YouTube. And I started to follow my passion. I didn't get paid. I don't get paid. And then the other big thing I realized was my passion was traveling. So the day before yesterday, I was in the Military Museum in Vienna, where I specifically went because I wanted to see the assassination tunic of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, whose death was the principal trigger to the First World War. Fascinating. A month ago, I decided to go to the Home Office, the area that the Home Office recommended that I shouldn't go to in the Philippines, which is Zamboanga City. It's where all the ISIS trouble is. I ended up on national TV, went out to 120 million people because they sent a camera crew down to interview me. Next day, there was 1,000 people waving flags waiting for Sir Philip to arrive because they all call you Sir when you're over there, if you're a white European. The point being, the Yorkshire Times, and by following my passions, I was able to open up this whole new world. And the reason I'm here today is to say, there are different ways. As Sue was saying, there's different ways. As John was saying, there's different ways to celebrate or do some different things with your unretirement. So we're looking for writers who are passionate about something. But lots of people say to me, I can write, what do you want me to write about? I said, I don't know. You tell me. Someone came to me, was very, very high ranking in the Tory party in a lay capacity, not an MP, and said, I would like to write about politics from a Tory perspective. I said, that's fine. We have gaps in business, politics, all sorts of different things. And a few minutes ago, I was just talking, and I sat down with Sarah, and Sarah said, I said, what did you do? She went, I was in oil and gas. I said, I said, what did you do? She said, I spoke languages. She said, languages? She said, yeah. I said, what do you do? She says, I speak Russian. I said, извините, я немного говорю по-русски, потому что я работал в Kazakhstan, because I learned Russian when I taught crisis media at the Russian oil fields. And immediately she said, well, actually, I'm in strategy. And what's your business model for the Yorkshire Times? I said, I don't know. Why don't you come and work for us? She said, I might like to do that. So I've just made a good connection today. So who's out there that wants something different? Because when you write, it opens doors and it opens possibilities. So everybody wants to do travel and everybody wants to do theatre, and they're fairly heavily subscribed already. But there might be something that you have a passion about, that you would want to get involved in. It could be at a strategic level. Somebody said to me, I can't write, but I'd like to be a behind-the-scenes editor. And I was thinking, thank God for that, because with so many writers now, that we're needing people to take the copy live from computers in their own houses. We're up to 50,000 readers a day. And I did a blog from the Philippines, and it got 63,000 hits. I did something the other day, and I was fed up because I've travelled all over the world. I get back to Manchester, and every time British Rail falls apart. So I'm fed up sitting in a waiting room blog, and within 5 minutes, British Rail were coming on, saying, oh, can we this, can we that? So obviously, social media now is very, very powerful. So if you were interested, please take a business card, which, as I say, I'll leave with blonde-haired Sandy. Where are you, Sandy? Stand up. There we go. That's Sandy over there. I'll leave some cards with her. And if anybody would like to ask me a quick question, I'm more than happy. I'm still within time there. Yeah, we're still in time. I've got all my warnings and what have you. So if anybody would like to ask me any quick questions, please do. As I say, we're looking for writers. We're looking for editors. We're looking for somebody who could add value to something. And at the moment, we don't have advertisers. So that might well have to change. We've been looking at the feasibility as to whether we go for community sponsors. Like, might Leeds Bradford Airport want to sponsor the travel page? Might Manchester Airport? Might the Alhambra want to sponsor the arts pages as opposed to advertise? It's a slightly different model. Is it called citizen journalism? But either way, it's a very interesting journey. And it's this thing all the time. It could be, I'm a great believer in periodically reinventing your life. Before this, I was travelling around the world talking about Hollywood movie stars on the cruise ships, which was quite fascinating. But then the agency that represented me got sold and things changed, and it doesn't happen as quickly. So do you sit there and cry in your beer, or do you get off your backside and think, all right, I'll go do it for the Yorkshire Times and create a different avenue, a different route to market, if you like. So has anybody got any questions, or would anybody give me an initial show of hands if you thought you might be interested in writing? Okay.
Good.
So that's 16 cards, okay. And might anybody be interested in behind the scenes editing? I'm very interested in the editors. I'm interested in everybody, but I am interested in the editors quite seriously. Would anyone else be interested in coming together to put something meaningful together to create and develop this thing called the Yorkshire Times.co.uk, which 2 or 3 of us have built massively since 2011, but we now need more concerted structure. Who might be interested in being involved in that process? Then anybody who's put their hand up, please take a card. I've brought a wad of them. Send me an email. Just call in the subject line, put Victoria's, I know it's a Victoria's Secret, Victoria's Conference. Put Victoria's Conference, and I get about 100 or 200 emails a day, and that will give me a clue. I'll immediately realise. I'll pull it out, and I'll either set some coffees up and just put Victoria's Conference, want to be an editor, want to be a writer, want to be a strategist. Give me some clues. I can narrow them down, and I can help you to help me to help you. Thank you.
Phil Hopkins, ladies and gentlemen.